Hello and welcome. We are Del and Debi's Mind, Body, Soul, the home of invigorating talk and all things to do with health and well-being. I am Del A.D. Jones and I'm one of your hosts, and I'm a 3 principles teacher and practitioner. And I help my clients achieve a more peaceful, inspired and joy-filled life regardless of their external circumstances. And before I introduce my co-host here, I'd like to remind everybody we are a call-in show, and our call-in number is 323-284-7826. And we also have a Facebook page, which is open right now, Del and Debi's Mind, Body, Soul. And if you want to just type in a question or make a comment, because we have a fabulous show ahead and you are going to be so engaged and want to know a lot more. So please call in. And now next to me is my fabulous co-host.
Thank you, Del, and hello, everybody. It's good to be back. We've taken a little break. The Woodsy fire hit a lot of us, and especially Del and our guest today. And so we thank you both for being here. I thank you both personally for being here. It's good to get on with life, and it's really great that we get to do this show today. So we have a great show for you. I am Debbie Carlin Boyle. I am the co-host. I am a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, and a certified integrative nutrition, health, and wellness coach. And I help people find balance in their life with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. And one of the things that feeds us is love. That is the big banner over everything. So, armed with the knowledge and tools to help us get over heartbreak and move on to manifest our soulmate, our guest today, Kathryn Alice, is considered one of the U.S.'s foremost experts on soulmates and dating. Author of the bestseller Love Will Find You, she teaches around the world and is responsible for thousands of people recovering from heartbreak and finding the love of their lives. Her work has been featured in Psychology Today, USA Today, Daily Mail, New York Times, Parade, NBC, CNN, and so many other media outlets. Kathryn, she has now been married to her own soulmate for 16 years, and they have 4 boys. So to honor us today with her expertise and give us the fastest proven way to our soulmate, will you please welcome our very special guest today to our show, Kathryn Alice. Yay! Thank you, Kathryn.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
really.
Yeah.
We didn't really expect that you would come, and you did with a big smile on your face. You have got such a great energy about you, in spite of, I must say, I'm so impressed. And thank you for being here.
My pleasure. So glad to be with you guys.
Yeah. It's actually really poignant right now, because I think so many people have lost everything, but thank God we didn't lose lives, and we all still have our loved ones.
That's
and,
right.
It's a very appropriate show to have.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So we like starting a little bit at the beginning. So we're going to ask you, give us a little bit of background of where you grew up, and just a little backstory before we head into the work that you do.
Sure. I grew up in North Carolina and went to school in Nashville, Vanderbilt, and made my way out here for school, for postgraduate school. And fell in love and ended up staying and having children. And I guess I'm a Californian now. Mm-hmm. And how do they say us? The Malibu white?
Malibu white. So what did you study at college?
Mm-hmm.
What was
I have an English degree, and I was a writer from the minute I graduated. And so I still write, but I found a specific subject that I write on, as you know.
Yes.
Now, were you always fascinated with the subject of love growing up? Were you a romantic?
Totally. I am a romantic, and I always love love stories, and romantic comedies are my favorite movies, always.
Wow.
Right there with you. Right there. My daughter and I, we special date those as soon as we know they're coming
funny.
out.
I think
God.
It feeds my soul personally.
Me too. I've just always been like overly almost interested in love stories.
Yeah.
It's like a Cinderella thing or something. Those
That's
fairy
now,
tales.
Did you come from? Are your parents still married? Did you come from a very solid background?
I did. They were married for many years, but not that much. You know, when I grew up, and most of us grew up, things were very dysfunctional, and so I sure didn't have a model of a working relationship. And so part of my journey is kind of breaking through beyond where I had seen, and I think that's what I do with people as well. Even if they've had a miserable life, never seen any soulmates, we can still make that happen.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I love that. Now, do you have siblings?
I do, yeah.
And are they out here in California?
No, they're still back,
Yeah.
and they're happily married. So I think we all have done well in the love. And
Nice,
my
in spite
husband's
of-
family too. They're all have their soulmates, and I think maybe it just catches because of what I do. Most people around me end up finding love too.
Will you be around me for a while?
I'll rub some off on you.
I'll come visit you.
So I have a question. So do you believe there's only one soulmate, or do we have multiple soulmates in our life?
Well, I subscribe to the twin soul theory, if you know what that is.
Yeah, twin
but
flame.
I've had a lot of people come to my workshops who lost their soulmate. They died. They passed on, and so I started realizing if they're drawn to my work, they have another soulmate.
Yeah.
Or they would never even come to one of my workshops. If you have a desire for love, you get it. This
Yeah.
is what I believe, and certainly has proven true in my work. So
Going back, how did that become a drive for you? How did you become driven to study love and soulmate and finding from an English degree?
Right.
Which I love English degrees.
Yeah.
My daughter has an English lit degree. And I remember, it used to be a thing where it was so ambiguous. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to manifest
Well,
that?
now,
It goes in every walk of life.
Well, especially with so many people doing things online and blogging and
media.
things like that, it's really important to, it's not books anymore. It's, people are constantly blogging and
Using their writing skills.
Exactly.
true, yeah.
So how did you parlay that into finding love?
Well, I had a painful divorce when I was pretty young. It was like a starter marriage, but we did have a child. And I kind of went through hell over it. And so I found the Spiritual Center, which is here in LA, Agape. Michael Beckwith started it. He's pretty famous now.
Yes.
He married John and me, too. He was our officiant. But
did you meet in the church?
No, we did. I met John, my husband, through friends. But at the time, I was in crisis and started taking classes there, and it helped me so much.
Yeah.
So
I
how
needed
long
something.
was it between the divorce and meeting?
Well, that's a story.
Okay.
I was a single mom for 10 years.
Okay.
And I help a lot of single moms.
Yes.
And I think I do because I've been there, done that.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
And so I was like an early mom, and then I was kind of a late bloomer into actually having a happy marriage and happy family. So I've had kind of both ends of it.
Yeah.
But
Good.
yeah,
Well,
I was
that's
a single mom
wonderful.
for a long time.
Long time.
But that gives you empathy, and it also gives other people hope.
Yeah.
It's not like you went from one relationship to the next immediately. You
No, I
obviously
went
did a
through
lot of
everything
work.
that I teach people, and I
Yeah.
think the best teacher is somebody who's gone through something and overcome it,
Sure.
and created what they
Agree.
wanted. And so I've had every dating experience too.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Now, I'm curious, what drew you to? I love Agape, and I've been there myself. But what were you? What was the were you brought up in a religious environment, or what made you
well,
go
I
to
don't know many
Agape?
Southerners who are not.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Well, it's not
Bible
normally-
country, you know. So I was brought up as kind of both Episcopal and a Baptist, but I'm kind of a little bit like it's a little patriarchal for me.
Yes, yeah.
And so when I went to Agape, it just felt like home. They kind of embrace a wide spectrum.
Yes.
And so I was in a moment of crisis, and so it just spoke to me.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
It's
I mean,
good-
it is
good
a
timing.
wonderful place, and the classes and courses they teach there are incredible.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah.
very empowering.
So I studied for 4 years and got licensed. So I'm clergy now,
Yeah.
and I ended up directing their crisis support team for many years.
Yes.
We ran a clinic. We sent people out for crisis situations, and so I learned a lot. And that's the biggest cause of suicidal people coming into the clinic was love.
Yeah.
And so I
Love
started
lost.
specializing all kinds of things: bad marriage falling apart,
That's
a
lost.
breakup. What I call a dating desert. That's when you've been single a long time and there's no hope of anybody on the horizon. Just lonely people.
Ooh,
where I
God,
got to a
Bullet
crisis.
pointing me.
Yeah.
yeah.
One of my specialties, getting people out of the dating desert.
Yeah.
So
Love
Wow.
that.
Oh,
Love
Yeah.
you're
love that.
gonna love this show.
I know.
Debbie is like,
Right, I've been
sign
waiting.
me up.
but that's how my work started.
Yeah.
Is just dealing with people in acute crisis, suicidal over love. And I started teaching workshops, and it was hands-on, everything that we tried that worked. And so as I began teaching, it was from a place of actually stuff that worked.
Sure.
And
Experiential.
so, yeah, so I started teaching
Tried
in a
and
lot of
true.
cities, many years before my first book came out. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Very
So
good.
let's talk. Because I know you refer to the soulmate and the you call it twin flame or
Twin flame or twin soul are kind of synonymous.
So can we just talk about that a little bit so people
Sure.
understand the language at least before
Yes.
we go into
Okay.
some of the other details.
Okay, well, twin flame, people are learning about it more and more. If you look at Google Trends, a twin flame is the notion that somebody was meant to be with you. And that you were sent off into the world to find each other, and that you will find each other. You'll be magnetized together at the right time. I think there are things we can do to delay coming together with them, but ultimately we end up together, and it's a relationship that's beyond.
When you
That's
say
fabulous.
delayed, is it us sabotaging ourselves, and that's what you help people overcome?
Exactly.
Is the things that are delaying it?
A big part of
Yeah.
my work is getting people over whatever has delayed them from
Yes.
finding their soulmate.
Right.
So
when you say how, there are steps how we welcome in a soulmate,
Yes.
correct? Because we first off have to be, I would assume, ready, and then just be well. I have friends who after a divorce who just said, "That's it, I'm done."
right.
And they've just put up the wall, and they're not looking, they're not dating, they don't want anybody in their life. I've had this with friends that are widows too.
Wow.
That just said, love of my life gone, I'm done. So there has to be a conscious decision that you want a new soulmate, correct?
Right,
That's
and
the
some
start.
people are done, and they
Okay,
they
that's my
concentrate on their
question.
children or on other things, and they're just done. The people who would show up for any of my work, whatever in them is guiding them to that, it means there is somebody for them.
Okay.
So
Good.
Wow, so it's
Good.
almost a guarantee. If you
I
do the
think
prep
so.
work, yeah,
Yes.
And you know I'm Southern, so
No,
one
I
of
know.
my Southern sayings is there's a lid for every pot.
yeah, I love that.
And you have thousands and thousands of success stories behind you from the work you've been doing.
Yeah, my wall of
Yeah.
weddings just went up in flames.
I know.
But I have photographs of
but
it.
if you go to your website,
Yeah,
the wall's behind you.
Well, we still have all those pictures digitally. Thank
Yeah.
God.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to
So you
go
can
through a
redo
fire,
'em.
go through it now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I still
Digital
have all
age,
those
yeah.
pictures, and there will be a new wall of weddings. And these are all the people, or not all of them, but a lot of pictures of
Debbie's
weddings.
gonna be on that wall of
You're
weddings.
next. And any of you guys listening who want to be, raise your hand.
See, I've already put
You're
up the
next.
wall that says I'll never get married again.
That's-
and I
okay,
don't
that's
want to
the
say
delay.
never. Yeah, that's one delay. I can give you a laundry list of others, but
You got to work on that.
Yeah, I put up that already, that
Right.
sign,
Yeah.
and that could be pushing me away
So what
from
are
something.
some of the biggest blocks you would say? What
Yeah.
are some of those? What are those walls created from? Would you say? What are some of
Well,
the?
Debbie alluded to one of them, and but I have a bigger one. Like
What's
the
the
biggest, the biggest wall of all is being attached to the wrong person. We are kind of hardwired for attachment as children.
From the breakup that we had, or for the person that we're attached to now, or from our
It could
childhood?
be any
Anything.
of the above.
Anything
and
that-
sometimes it's not even a romantic attachment.
Okay.
And so I developed a formula to get rid of it because it can grab you by the throat. I don't consider anybody able to get out the gate until they get rid of any attachment to a past love they're hanging on to an unrequited crush, maybe to somebody else.
And it could even be to a parent figure.
Parent or a child.
Yes.
That's common as well. Single parent. It's why one of my specialties, because they're scared they're going to introduce somebody horrible
Yes.
to their family,
Yeah.
or they get overly attached to their kids to try to replace, and that doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
I get all of
Fabulous.
that.
I love that. Okay, so that's so.
Yeah.
Especially-
Let's go into that a little deeper before we go,
Yeah.
because that's a
Sure.
big subject.
It's
I
a
mean,
huge subject,
that's
and I
the-
have like a CD, Releasing a Person.
Yes.
It was the first CD we ever put out. Biggest cause of people being suicidal is they were attached. And you see headlines in the news every day of people who were attached, and they didn't have to end their life. They just had to detach. And it's hard to do.
There are steps
So-
you have to take,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yes.
Can we go into
Yeah,
that a
can you
little
give a
bit?
little
Yeah.
Sure.
description of
Well,
that.
I had
gonna
this-
help me.
my biggest, most popular workshop was that Releasing a Person that we turned into a CD. People would line up, and we'd go through literally tens of boxes of Kleenex.
Wow. Well, we want to come back to that, but for the meantime, we have a call, so we're going to come back to that. Though, hello, caller. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hello.
Are you there?
Did we lose?
Oops,
Oh,
we
we
lost
lost you.
them.
Call back.
Yes,
We do ask you
please
to call
come
back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's go back to that.
the
then.
workshop
So
and the
cleanup.
Kleenex.
Yeah, the clean. That's right.
And the clean
I get the
up.
cleanup because there's a cathartic, obviously, moment that goes through
Crying
the
is
steps.
a release, so
Yeah.
there's no shame in it.
Yeah.
You know, but
Of course
So
not.
people were surprised at how much they would like sob.
So what is the process you take
Yeah.
them through to even do you help them identify, because some people probably aren't even aware of what that sort of that hold is.
They have no idea,
Yeah.
and they don't. Some people don't even know what they released. I've had
Yeah.
people release like 8 past loves, or the big
Wow.
one. You know,
Yeah.
at the moment, I've
And-
had
Yeah.
people who are both releasing each other show up, which is kind of dramatic.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
I know.
Oh my goodness,
Wow.
that sounds
Wow.
fascinating. I mean, I have an incredible relationship. I'm very, very lucky, but I like that idea of even, because sometimes there are residual things that are there that can still show up in a relationship, and if you're unaware of them, I mean, so
Exactly.
Well, they do too, I would think, especially if you have kids together, because those old habits come, and the way they treat you comes fleshing back. You know what I mean? It's not like you
Yeah.
can just shove it aside and never think about it again.
Exactly.
Because you're dealing with your children together.
And
So-
I write about that in my book, Love Will Find You.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about it on releasing a person because you don't, some people, I always tell them, you have a higher calling, because if you can't get rid of your ex, if you're working together,
Mm-hmm.
if you're, bound by money or a business or kids, you have to find that place of grace
balance.
where you can be civil
Yeah,
for the sake
absolutely.
of the
So,
children.
I'm going to let you use me as a little guinea pig here, and we can go through the steps
Okay.
with me. So, I was in a
Yes.
35-year relationship.
Wow.
And I was married for 26 of those 35 years. So, by the time we split, we had grown children out of college. And so that was, and we worked together. We had a company together. So we were very embedded in our lives, and it was a very abrupt ending. So, and things had been working their way towards years.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sorry to hear
so
that,
hanging
Debbie.
on has been something that I've been dealing with. And he, in my opinion, he didn't hang on, and so he did in some ways, but he still was able to get into other relationships and stuff. I have not, and so it's been now almost 8 years, and there's nothing more than I would like. All my friends who are single are either with what I would think is the next love of their life, or the love of their life, or they're married and have their soulmates. So it's very hard. And I don't know. I think, what would the steps I would be
Yes.
taking? What would I be doing if I listened
Well,
to your
I'm going to
CD?
tell you something that's going to make you feel better, and
Okay.
that's the first step. And anybody who's listening to us who's feeling better, you're already taking the first step right now. The first step is just to have faith that there is somebody. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you feel better, and that is that the people who wait longer, those of us who are late bloomers or waited longer, I feel we get to be happiest because we didn't settle, because we went without it a while. So when we get it, we never take it for granted.
And that's a big part of why I have waited this long, is I don't
Right.
want to settle, because there were there was a checkoff list that didn't quite satisfy the criteria. And then again, I know there's a give and take, but I just thought, this is settling. I have to keep
Yeah.
moving. I just have to, keep the friendship strong and keep moving.
Yeah, and good for
know?
you, because I believe in being picky.
Yeah.
It's how to weed out the
I
ones
am.
who are not your soulmate.
I
so
am.
that's good.
The problem is, in my 60s now, I'm getting older. And so,
Shouldn't matter.
yes,
See,
I
that's-
know
that's
you
me.
work with people that, but
I
you
had a
start to think-
69-year-old who recently got married, and she looked like she was in her teens. She wore a white dress. She had the most handsome groom. I mean, I should have brought a picture, but I've had people, we had a rash of 50-somethings get married one summer, have people up in their 80s find love.
Yeah.
And so there's not, age is irrelevant.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
know.
feel.
But I always
That's
just
what you
figured the
needed
older
to
you
hear.
get,
From somebody besides me.
the confidence level sort of goes
Well,
down.
that's what we would have to work on.
Yeah.
You
And then
know?
you think, oh, I'm only going to be attracted to people 20 and 30 years older than me that are going to, and that
No.
there's that thing that
You get
runs
what you
through.
want.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm waiting
And people
for.
who don't know what they're doing, well-meaning friends might say you need to lower your standards a little.
Yeah, I've heard
I
that.
even
I've
had
heard
that. And we have to ignore them. They don't know what they're talking about.
Okay, good.
They're
Okay.
trying to be kind, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This brings something up, because I'm not saying lower your standards, but I definitely think I know a lot of people that, especially when the law of attraction, The Secret first came out, a lot of
Right.
people had their list of, I want this, 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 and this. And if they
were
met
rigid.
somebody that didn't even remotely, I mean, my theory is, 7 out of 10 has to be absolutely spot on. The other 3 are things that are not deal breakers. They're not addiction. They're
Right.
not personality disorders. They're not,
Right.
liars and all of those things.
Right.
But they're just like, maybe the guy's going a little bald. So it's okay. I mean, that's my theory anyway. I see so many people that, 10, 15 years later are still single because it wasn't, they thought that everything that they wanted, they should get. And so I'm
it kind of
curious, what do
created
you-
monsters in terms of,
Well,
or not monsters, that's a
I
harsh
encourage
word,
people
but-
to write a list and know what they want, because
Well,
some
I've got
people
that.
never ask themselves, what do I
Sure.
want? But if you think about it, it's up here a lot.
Yeah,
it's very
exactly.
logical.
Very
It's not the right level where
Exactly.
soulmate love. Soulmate love comes here.
Yes, exactly.
And so it's fine to have it. I always tell people, put your list away for the date and be fully present and see the sacred in this other being. And try to make it short in case they're not.
Yeah.
And you don't want to waste your time. But really see them and evaluate later and say this or something better about
Yes.
your list.
Yes.
You want to be open, because I've had at least 2 people who didn't think they liked bald guys who married the bald
It's
guys who
not-
were the most sexy guys they've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's always more for me about the way they make me feel. I
Yeah,
want to feel
exactly.
special, and in turn,
Yeah.
I want them to feel. I want to be able to make them feel special.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes you can't get that on a first date. So I'm notorious. I should really write a book called Second Date. But I'm notorious for giving that second chance and
Yeah,
to
I think
see
that's
if
nice.
you
Yeah.
feel that mutual. Will he adore me the way I want to adore him?
Yeah.
Because that's where I feel the soulmate love part begins to connect. First, you have to have admiration and adore somebody. And it could, the principal things, the initial things that happen is the look. Do we have some kind of connection through the way we like the way each other looks? And sometimes you can't tell that from a picture. You need to physically be with the person to see
Yeah.
that,
Because it's
to feel
energy.
it. It's energy.
Well, I always tell people, if you're online dating, get in front of them as quick as you can.
Yeah, I always give people the benefit.
You'll skip all the catfishing stuff.
Yeah.
And you can see the chemistry, because within 5 seconds, you will know if there's some kind of chemistry.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a slow grow and suddenly you wake up and you're wild about him. But you at least know there's something there or not.
So which brings me, love at first sight. Is that a must? Is that true? Is that do away with that and give it a chance?
Well, a
everybody
lot of my
feels
work
like-
is research based. And so love at first sight only happens 10% of the time.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
And
what
so
I
that's
wanna
why
know.
you have to, and like even for a lot of us, me too, I thought John was really cute, and I met him when I had a boyfriend. I shouldn't have been noticing him. But it's still, I had some walls up. And so for many people, it's more of a slow opening, but you're thinking about him and you want to see him again.
Right.
But you're not sure. And that's
Right.
okay too.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
10% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also what I've sometimes find is some people that have not healed from a very traumatic childhood, and there's a lot of drama, and so their normal is chaos,
Right.
And so they might meet somebody and they're like, oh, they're boring, and it's because they're adrenaline junkies, they want that adrenaline.
That's something people often have to heal from.
Exactly.
Because they grew up probably in a crazy household that was unstable.
Yeah.
And they're drawn to instability.
Me.
Yeah.
That's one of the blocks in finding
Really?
a true
No,
love.
but it was one. Absolutely, I was
Okay.
completely attracted to unstable, and because otherwise it
familiar.
felt boring to me.
Yeah,
and I do
yeah.
remember, not mentioning any names, but a couple of times I met people where I was like, "Oh, this is just not going anywhere. This is just too boring for me," and they actually ended up being more long-term relationships because I gave it the chance to just go, okay, I know that my normal is not normal. My normal is sped up. So if there's not chaos, then maybe this, I got to let that pass.
You see it on the media,
Yeah.
and I think it helps people to not go deep if they're scared. If they got all kinds of drama, they don't even have to go deep. And so as people heal, they're drawn to different people, healthier. And actually, it's pretty fascinating to go deep because you never get to the bottom of another person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and that's how you
I want to finish the release thing because
yes,
I don't want
okay.
to frustrate
Yes, yes.
anybody who's
No.
listening.
Yes,
No,
yes, please.
okay.
Because we
good.
were on that tangent.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what I do with people is I start getting faith that it's going to be okay. And I
Okay.
always tell them, once you get done with this, you're going to be amazed how good you feel, even if you're a wreck right now. And so then I do a guided meditation to literally cut the ties dissolve the ties.
Is that a one-shot deal or something you'd have to
Some
do
people do it more than
practice
once.
over
They
and
don't
over
want to do
again?
it too much
Not
because
too much.
they're
Okay.
actually getting in touch with that person on the inner.
Oh,
And so if they do it,
gotta
they kind of can
cleanse.
reawaken
Yeah.
the attachment.
Okay.
But they're literally getting a hold of them on the inner and dissolving any attachment, saying goodbye.
Now,
Okay.
can I ask you again? I did it earlier, but what if they're unconscious? Is it still going to happen even if
It
they?
does, totally.
Good.
I've had people go
Yeah.
to sleep in the middle of the guided meditation and they still let go.
Yeah, because
they're
some
snoring.
people, like I said, some people don't recognize who they still have attachments with. So to trust that the work has been done, even if they're not conjuring
That's
up the image
right.
of that person.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
And
Yeah.
so they have to trust it's working even if they're not sure. And then after, I teach them tools on how to stay released because an attachment wants to get hold of you again.
Yeah.
It wants to
Yeah,
grab
well, it's
you.
habits
what's one
too
of the
will
best
keep creeping
tools?
in.
I can give you the three. They're
Okay,
really
great.
quick
Yeah.
and easy. Just a short version.
Yeah.
Some people think of them 1,000 times a day if they're just coming off a breakup. And every time they do, they have to say goodbye again and turn their attention. And this is step number 2 to something else, something they should be doing, becoming present in the here and now, something pleasant, just some distraction. It could be the
Great.
thought of somebody way better than that.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
it's not going to be so hard with.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then number 3 is to deal with their pain body. And what that means, if we've grown up with a traumatic childhood, we've stored this pain and we never really healed it. And you can't just sweep it under the rug.
Is it because
Right?
it's familiar? And
Yeah.
so you're holding on to
They
that?
re-injure themselves because that to them is love, even if it's really,
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it.
toxic. So
Yeah.
When I was at USM, I had this. Obviously, it was 2 years of very deep work, but I connected then that unless I was feeling a longing, I couldn't feel love.
Yeah.
and what I thought was love. So I had love and longing mixed up. They had them tied together. How dysfunctional is that?
I don't think that's dysfunctional. I would think that's
Longing?
because, again, if you get back to that fairy tale sort of situation, it's kind of like, wow, it's that undeniable connection that if you don't have that, then you're not having the right kind of love
Well, I
come
meant
your
like,
way.
pretty unavailable people.
Yeah.
So
That's
unless
a
you-
different
Yeah,
thing.
Oh, it's a
no,
different- yeah.
longing for somebody that's not available.
I always
Okay.
think that people who like or go for unavailable are unavailable themselves.
Absolutely.
Because they don't have to
Sort of
worry
a
about
mirror.
getting into a
You're
real
just
relationship.
mirroring.
Totally.
Yeah.
I always say it's like this. It's like one person's going this direction, you're following them. And if that person, that unavailable person turned around and started to come towards you,
You'll run.
You'll run the other way.
Yeah.
I've had that happen because, as you know, being in the dating scene for that many years, which now I have, I've had every kind of situation where we both just knew that this is all just about fun, and then sometimes you turn a corner and one wants to get more serious, and then you go, whoa, wait a second, So I've had
Yeah.
every scenario situation or where we could possibly go off into the sunset together, or we knew from the get-go this was just Fast and Furious, you know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
was going to not end in a relationship.
Well, you just hit on something, and
Yeah.
because I know that you say, "What is crazy love?"
Yeah.
and does it work out? So,
Well, we've already been talking about that, haven't
Yeah,
we?
how to manifest.
You kind of know it.
Yeah.
Your friend who has it is annoying and is always having some high drama that you break up and make up a lot. It's so unstable that you can't get on with your life. All of
Yeah.
your energy is going into this relationship that's obviously kind of crazy and very
Yeah.
dramatic. And you can heal it. I have a couple stories in my book, Love Will Find You, about people who healed a crazy love. Like, amazing, extreme
so
stories.
they were both they
They
were
were able to
soulmates,
settle down?
but they
Yeah,
were just
sometimes.
Okay.
A lot of times there's no way. This
Yeah.
is not
Yeah.
your soulmate.
Yeah.
If it's your soulmate, but there are criteria.
Yeah.
The criteria is you're both willing to heal and
Okay.
find stability. You're both all in.
But first, you have to see the dysfunction in it first to be
I
able
think
to
it's
heal
pretty
it.
obvious.
It
I
is.
mean, most
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
a while, if they
It's-
did.
Yeah, because you're on a freaking roller coaster that is messing with your emotions and keeping you from moving
Yeah,
forward.
and if your friends are saying,
Yeah.
the way I knew I was in a crazy love, which was right before I was with my husband, is my friend, my sweet friend who's never judgmental, never says a word critical. She's like, I'm just so sick of hearing about him. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? And
yeah.
it kind of like, oh my God, this is not right.
Yeah.
You know,
You're driving your friends crazy and you didn't realize you
Yeah.
did that too. It got to that point.
So for people listening in, I don't want them to get, because we just mentioned that sometimes the crazy loves can be a soulmate connection, but they're just, you need to heal from it. what would you say to, because a lot of people that are crazy in love, they don't want to hear it's not a soulmate. They want
They don't.
Yeah,
That's
they
a
don't.
big, it's a big topic, and
To let
people have
go.
to be willing to let go
Yeah.
for it to even work, and they're not.
And that's
if you're
where you come
attached,
in. You can
you're
help.
like, this has got to be my soulmate, and I have to tell them that voice is the voice of attachment,
Yes.
and it goes away once you release, and you kind of hit yourself on the head and go, what was I thinking? Why was I so obsessed with this person?
Yes.
But it's hard to see that when you're in it.
Yeah.
And so the criteria has to be that they have not beat you, they haven't hit you, they haven't laid a hand on you, that they're not addicted to anything, or at least they're recovering, that they are they're supportive of you, or can get that way, willing to grow, and all in to be with you and nobody else.
Okay,
Those
good,
are the
yeah.
criteria.
Yeah, those are brilliant. Those are great. Yeah.
Because if
Otherwise
you've
it's-
been
Say
in
those
like
again.
if you've been wasting years of your
Yeah.
life with this person and it's never going to work out, do
Yeah.
you really want to come around in another 2 years? We used to have people come, like they'd come once and they'd release, and then the person would come back. But when you release, they come back, and you have to watch that. We have a
Yes.
warning on the CD. But then they come around 2 years later. They'd done a whole nother round with this person, and it still didn't work out.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
don't want to
they're
waste all of
just
our lives.
repeating.
So
you
I'm
know.
thinking and I'm just thinking here too, there could be some people that are married and happily married to a degree, but they still have some of this residue in their relationship. What I'm saying is their relationship
Yeah.
could even be better.
Yes.
So they would listen to that CD anyway, just to help their present relationship they're in.
And
not to get
even
a
when
new
you're
partner.
married, you need to release.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
good.
Yeah.
You need to let go of holding on too tightly or some of the dysfunction.
Yeah.
So yes, and part of my work is helping people get to the soulmate place when they've had something that's less than. You can make it into a soulmate relationship.
When you
great.
you
That's-
all, you,
that's very
you have
helpful.
this saying, you have a wreck in your yard. What is that part? What is
That's another one of my Southern sayings.
Oh, okay.
That means that I work with a lot of introverts. I'm kind of an introvert too.
Okay.
You wouldn't know it.
I know. Well, you develop skills. I mean, I
Well,
teach a lot of
within your-
people how to develop some social skills and
Yes.
be okay in the world. But for the introverts, they're not going to get out much.
Yes.
And my saying is that if you don't get out much, they're going to have a wreck in your yard, because as you get attractant, as you get magnetic, and I have all these stories people start sending in who did my work, they met somebody literally at home.
Yeah, I know. I read your newsletter today.
At home in their house?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because I read your newsletter, and it
How
was
does that
talking
work?
about, and,
Yeah.
and you said you don't have to go out and find love. Love can find you even if you're staying at home. So let's talk
and
about
I'm
that.
the only dating teacher I think I've ever heard of who says you don't
Yeah.
have to get out there,
Yeah.
which is
Exactly.
terrifying if you're an introvert.
Yeah.
If you get magnetic enough, you will meet a guy will come to repair your printer, and you'll
Wow.
fall in love. That's happened. There'll be somebody out your window repairing a pole. And you meet on the balcony for your
Yeah.
morning coffee, and that's it. That's happened. A tailor who came in to do some tailoring, they fell in love. One met her neighbor, this guy who was really shy but really cute. And she always noticed him. He saw her come and go on all these dates. They were living in apartments, and she finally met him in the laundry room. They started talking. They ended up getting
love
married
that.
and buying a house together.
It's a Cinderella story to me.
Yeah.
I think that's
And
lovely.
you live in a big
I live in a big complex.
Yeah, so you can meet
and
'em
it's
staying at
actually-
home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There aren't that many people. It's more of a millennial thing. There's mostly kids, my kids' age, but
You never
Yeah,
know.
you never know. And you know what? Here's the
Their
thing.
father
'cause-
could be visiting. Their
Here's the
father could
thing.
be homeless from Malibu and needs to stay with them right
But
now.
here's the thing. Having said all that, I am very open-minded. I keep an open heart. I don't know because you're an expert on this, but I'm very welcoming,
Okay,
to
good.
a
That helps.
relationship. And so it doesn't matter what situation I'm in. I kind
Yeah.
of scan the room. I look for rings on fingers. If I think someone might be, possible within my age range, that I would want to strike up a conversation with them. So I'm not indulging, let's say. I don't push the effort, but I'm very open to it in every aspect, wherever I am in a small space or a large space, whether it's a big stadium venue or, my complex in my own apartment, knowing that I'm walking my dog.
Right.
Because I've heard everything that you're saying. I have friends that were crossing the street, turned around to talk to each other or saw each other again on that walk on the way back. that are now married or engaged. It's happened to 2 friends of mine.
Wow.
Just crossing a street.
Wow.
And
It could happen
so-
at any moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always tell people it's very organic. So as long as you're feeling good about it, you're in the right place.
So I'm always welcoming it.
Yeah.
You know, and yet the thing that frustrates me is it has been almost 8 years and nothing's even come close.
We need the releasing tape.
Well, Debbie,
do a
you
little
said
cle- a
if
little
I were
cleanup
working with
first.
you
Yeah.
at the beginning, you said a couple of things,
Yes.
and you know we were talking about releasing. There's some other things you have to let go of, delays besides just being attached,
and
some of
I'll
them are
agree
bad
with that.
beliefs about love, dragging your past into the present. So you know I don't want to call you out, but when you say,
no,
well, it
go
hasn't
for it.
happened and it's been 8 years. You're kind of dragging your past because it could happen right now, but not if you're beating that drum that okay hasn't happened this
So
whole
it's
time.
just not going to.
Yeah, we can't
get it.
make that conclusion
I get it.
because it could happen anytime. And sometimes, you know, people wait for like 10 years, right?
Right,
And so we
right.
can't make that kind of conclusion.
I
Yes.
think this cleaning up CD should go. I mean, I'm getting it for myself because
No,
I
no,
I
I
have
I
a
would
read
have
all
given
about
you
it
one,
on
but
your
they're all
website.
like up in flames.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
I'll order it on
It's
the
very
online.
cheap on Amazon. I think they've got it priced like at $3.
Oh, that's
so
okay.
everybody should
So
get it.
okay. Yeah, I was just
I just
gonna
have to
say
find a
because-
place to put the CD in.
Oh, well,
You
I
can
think this-
download it.
yeah.
you
Okay.
know, on Amazon.
Okay.
Because, like you say, it's not just for people that aren't in a relationship to get ready for the right one to come in, but it's for people to clear up stuff. Because I'm sure I've still, even though I've done so much work, there's still some little clearing up stuff in the past that I'm sure I could benefit from too. So
Well, the engineer who mastered the CD before it went out, who was not spiritual whatsoever, healed a grudge he had just by mastering it. He was kind of listening,
yeah.
and he literally healed a grudge. So you can kind of use it for anything.
For anything.
Very
yeah.
cool.
Letting go. I love this.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Very
So
cool.
I'm curious, even knowing about all the things that we need to do to make, because we're in our last 10, 15 minutes. But
Sure.
what was it that drove you to just, even though finding your soulmate worked for you, what drove you to help others find theirs? What was that one thing that you felt like, this is my niche, this is where I have to go?
I think that's what we were talking about. I've always been interested in love stories. I'm just such a romantic, and I love hearing about how people meet. And the first 2 years I was doing this, I was single, which is a weird place to be. Because
Yeah.
I would attract people who need healing, who didn't really love me. You know, it was this whole process.
Okay, so it was a process.
And
that
so
kind of,
I
you
was
just
teaching
knew.
because I wanted it to work for me, and it had been working for other people. And then it worked for me, and by then, so many people started knowing about my work and wanted me to help them, and I love it. I would do this for free because it's so fulfilling to watch people get married and have children they wouldn't have had, have healings, and it's just so rewarding.
That's you can
amazing.
see how it's just part of who
when,
you
when
are.
you die, you know, because I was kind of belittling my what I did compared to somebody who was doing some important job, you know, running the world. And this guy was like, you know, when you die, you're not thinking about everything you achieved as much or all the money you made as much as you were, how did I love? And how did I receive
and how
love?
did you
Yeah.
receive
Yeah,
it?
and it made me feel
So
good. Like,
important.
yes, you
Yes.
know, what I do is important.
work.
And it goes so beyond just like you said. I mean, if people are happy at home, if they feel loving towards their partner, their children, they show up in the world with a very different sort of energy around them. And
Well, they're
you
at that high level.
Exactly. So you're
Yeah.
basically healing
Yeah.
the world. So you can't really put down your work.
And I see, what I see in my work, as you heard at the top of the show, there's a lot of things that feed us in life besides just food on our plate. And though I help people with nutrition, but if they are harboring a bad breakup, a lot of times it comes out in the way they treat themselves on self-care, and they're overeating or drinking or doing something. And I have to help them heal. And now I have someone to refer them to, whatever the past love situation was, in order for them to be good to themselves, to love themselves first.
They have to, because
That's
otherwise
where
they're
it
going to keep
starts.
attracting somebody who's like a taker.
Exactly.
And drains them out.
Exactly.
So,
This
yeah.
is great to have a reference. I got to tell you, because I think
Thank
it's
you.
a huge part of that puzzle, of that pie, of the things that feed us.
Mm.
Because, finances and career and the joy in our life, but it's hard for those things to be joyful and to bring us pleasure when you don't feel loved. You know, it's different when in kids and family than it is with a
and I always
significant
tell
other.
people one sign it's your soulmate is you text him that you don't feel good, and 30 seconds later the phone is ringing and he wants to bring soup.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That he's
Yes.
giving to you.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not just the giver, and
Yeah.
they're not the taker.
Yeah.
It's a mutually nurturing
I
relationship.
totally crave that. And,
Yeah.
you know, right now is the holidays. We've just passed
That's
Thanksgiving
right.
and we're coming in. This is going to be my 8th year going through holidays as single, whereas for 35 years I wasn't, you know, and there's a lot of people out there, and some of my friends included, that are not looking forward to the holidays because of
Yeah.
it. Because every year I say to myself, next year, I'm going to have that person who's going to bring me soup when I tell them I'm not feeling good. And then that year
Yeah.
passes and it becomes a disappointment.
Yeah.
So then you start closing off a little bit, like it's never going to happen. Do you have some suggestions and things that you can help people through
yeah.
this time?
I have a module I give to my private clients called Creating Magical Holidays. And I've had a lot of people meet over Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. It's such a good time because you're out and about. So I tell them one thing, because one thing I teach is a soul call. Buy a present for the person who's not there yet.
Whoa.
Consider he's coming. Think of him. Send him love. You know, everybody who's listening, close your eyes right now, and you could too, and just send him a little love because he's there, breathing somewhere.
Yeah.
Probably looking for you.
Yeah.
And
I've
have a
done
great
those.
time. Plan the holidays so that you're not alone. Have some backup plans and try to have fun, because you can have some of the funnest times right before you meet them with friends. But you can't keep beating that drum. Well, it's been 8 Christmases.
Yeah,
I've been
'cause I
miserable.
do that. I do a little
that kind
tally.
of delays it a little.
Yeah, I
Let's
know
not
it's a
keep
roller
track of
coaster.
that.
I go up with the positive, and then the
Yeah.
holidays come, and I'm not just
Try to
saying
get
this for me.
happy
I know
alone.
others.
Yes,
you know,
A lot of
Absolutely.
people
Birthdays,
meet somebody
all those kinds
when
of
they're
things.
happiest alone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a big
Yeah.
trend.
yeah,
when I-
but there's that other thing that says that you get too
No,
convenient in
no.
yourself.
I've never seen that to be
okay,
true.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
Don't even worry about that.
Okay, yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you work with private clients, but you also do a boot camp. Now, is that a group of people that work together? How does that
The
work?
Soulmate Boot Camp is a do-at-home program that we put them into a private Facebook where they can get feedback from me and some guidance. But I did it on my holdout clients.
Yeah.
Everybody was manifesting, but there was this core group who weren't, and
Yeah.
they were blocked more deeply.
Yeah.
And so I had this 38-day Soulmate Boot Camp I sent them through, and most of them found love very quickly after all these years. You know, they were my holdouts.
Stay.
Yeah.
And so it got around. The people started hearing, I want to do it, I want to do it. So we cleaned it up and made it into a product, so now anybody can get it. It's
Yeah.
not cheap,
Yeah.
but because I want people to be committed.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
it's expensive, but when they buy it, because you've got some skin in the game, they actually do it. They have
Yeah.
to spend 30 days, which is long enough to break any bad habit, and then they do see a result.
And,
Yeah,
and
it's breaking
I'm
habits.
part of a lot of these sort of mentoring groups and things like that.
Me too.
When you're in a group like that and you're hearing each other share each other's stories, sometimes it's so hard to see yourself when you're in the frame. But if you've got other people,
Exactly.
you go, oh my God, that's my story, or I'm doing that. And it's easier to cop to stuff.
Yes,
helps
is.
you.
And
You
you
help
support
each
each
other.
other.
Exactly. You help and
you
support
just got to
each
keep
other.
it on a high level. It
Yeah.
can't turn into it like a bitch fest.
No, exactly.
I always keep people on the high level.
Yeah.
Do you have one of those
Yeah.
things where you what they did on the classic Friends show where they get a big garbage can and all their exes, they burn everything that has
That's
to do
part
with
of
their
my
exes?
releasing. We do
Oh,
a
it is?
ritual, like in a live workshop. We we break it all into pieces and then stomp on it and dance on it and then throw it away.
Literally?
Literally, if I
Okay.
get people
Okay.
alone, but we
Yeah.
do the burning every New Year's Eve. We don't want to take anything
No,
into the
exactly.
new
There's
year.
something to do on New Year's Eve when you're single.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So-
So how do people work with you? Can you just talk about
Yes.
some of the
Okay.
things that you offer so people know?
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. So the best way to find me is just on Amazon. Look up Kathryn Alice or Love Will Find You, which is my best-selling book, a really good introduction to my work. And a lot of people just read the book, and that's all it takes. They're always sending me pictures just from reading the book.
Yeah.
If they're more blocked, they want to go deeper, maybe the Soulmate Boot Camp. If they're hanging on to somebody, releasing a person, the CD. There's also a book, but the CD, because they need to do the guided meditation. I tell you exactly the process I use. So those are like 3 things that are, kind of beginner, intermediate, and then like advanced level.
Yeah. Okay, great. So it's really, you have something for everybody.
I kind
Yeah.
of. I
Yeah.
feel like I've
Every
dealt with
financial
everything you
level.
could ever imagine. And there's free, if you go to my website, kathrynalice.com, there's a free course just to try my work before you commit more deeply. So you can also do that.
Yeah, you did a little webinar recently in November. What was it, like a hour thing? And it was free, right?
It was free.
Yeah.
I do. And I always tell people if they want to go further, how they can. But there are free ways to get my work and just see if it's right.
Nice.
So,
Do you do those webinars every so often?
Every so
Yeah.
often, a couple of a year usually.
Oh, okay.
None coming
Nice.
up right now.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Well, you got a lot of things you got to
Yes.
deal with right now.
I'm a little busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your relationship, you are in the most fascinating relationship, right? You have your soulmate.
I can't believe
you have
it.
four
Like,
boys.
I still pinch myself and say, my God, I'm in a functional relationship. We love each other and we're still as romantic as the day we were married. And that's what it's like when you meet the right person, even if you've never had it, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and is it there a aha moment that you just go, this is it, or is it gradual, or is it different for everybody?
it's different for everybody. Some people know immediately, like those 10%, this is the person I'm going to marry, and they do. I've had people run off to Vegas just in a couple months, and they're still together, with kids now.
Wow.
Right.
And some people, it's more of a slow dawning.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you think you're with your soulmate, I'm going to do a hypothetical right now.
Okay.
Hopefully she's not listening. If you think you're with your soulmate and you've been with them going on 11 years,
Right.
and the marriage thing, you want to get married, but he hasn't asked yet. Are you with your soulmate, or do you need to push the dime a little bit and say, I'm going to move on because I am looking for something bigger?
I don't
than
believe
this.
in ultimatums. You don't want somebody to marry you because you gave an ultimatum.
Right.
You want them to marry you because you want. But I do have
Okay.
a process I use. I've done it with a lot of clients.
Okay.
To get them married. And it believe it or not, it has to do with release a little,
absolutely.
and not in a manipulative way.
For
but
her, the one who's waiting, she needs to release, or the person.
the person who's waiting needs to
Okay,
release
okay.
a little. It's called partial release.
All right.
Again, a protocol I use with private clients.
Okay.
But if they release a little, I've gotten so many people married who are in that. And it depends on, I don't know where he's from, but in Australia, their big sign of commitment is more buying real estate. We met people who were on their honeymoon after being 12 years together. They don't care about marriage. Here in the U.S., we do more. So it varies by culture.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but if they're
he's
happy,
local kid.
if they're
Yeah.
happy, I wouldn't just throw it out. I try to
No.
adjust
Yeah.
a couple things, and let's see if if she wants it, she should get it.
Yeah.
And he just might have some blocks he needs to get, but
Yes.
she can do the things without telling him, and he'll suddenly like, oh my God, what am I doing? We need to marry.
Yeah. So okay. I'll
But you
have to
want
talk
it from
to you
that
after.
energy,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Is
Yeah,
that
not
he's
from a
dying to marry you,
manipulative, yeah.
not
Yeah.
to manipulate,
Yeah,
not to
just
put
to-
it down an ultimatum.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just at that age where you want to move forward. If you want to have a family and you get to a
And it
certain
shouldn't
age.
take that
Yeah.
long if she wants to get married. She just might be doing a couple of things that are pushing him away. I'd have to diagnose. It's very
Okay.
individual.
Oh, it's individual.
Yeah.
It's
No,
like
that
anything.
brings me
yes.
to now. Do you ever work with couples?
I do.
Okay.
Well, because now there's so many people who've gotten married from me that sometimes they need some help. So I have a bunch I do, and I need to get a book out. I don't have a book out yet, but I've
couples
worked
book.
with so many people to save their marriage, and it works.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
That's great.
I think
Yeah.
I agree. I think so
you do
many
is so
of us
important.
bail a little
you.
too soon, and when we do have, I think keeping the spark alive. I don't mean it has to be hard work, but I think there has to be that mutual respect and
It
that.
doesn't have to be hard work, but sometimes there's weird stuff that will kill the chemistry.
Exactly.
And the minute you adjust it, it comes flooding back. And you have
Exactly.
another honeymoon. So,
Exactly. That's
yeah.
what I meant. So many people just think, well, the spark's gone, I'm bailing. It must mean
Yeah.
that if somebody else out there will reignite that spark. And it's actually, you can reignite
can
that
have it
spark.
with
you
them.
look on the
Yeah.
outside, you always, you want to have what you felt like. And that's part of the thing. People ask me, why are you still single? I say, I'm
hate that
looking
question.
for, I know, I hate it. And I get it all the time.
Right.
I get it all the time. I was just at a friend's house for a dinner party on Saturday night and I hadn't seen them in a while because they have a house in Canada and they just came back to spend the winter here. And he looked at me and he goes, oh my God, why are you still single? And, those are things that I know I'm looking for the way I felt when I met my ex-husband.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that feeling. And it was something that built up. We were friends first. A lot of things you talked about is the way we got together.
Yeah.
It wasn't that, aha, like there's my serendipitous soulmate right there and I'm going to marry that guy. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And I don't expect it to be like that again, but that's really what I'm looking for. I don't want to cut myself short on that feeling that I know I'm capable of because I've had it.
Yeah.
I know what that is. And I didn't explain all that to them. I just go, I don't know, you tell me. I was kind of like, what, you got any friends? That's my stock line. You're going to fix me up? Got any friends? So
And
I
I
figured
think
the odds
also
are better.
To realize that a lot of the power of that feeling comes from within, not from the other person.
Yeah.
But we are closing in on our time here. So just your final words of wisdom,
Yes.
what would you like to share with our listeners?
I would just like to tell anybody who's listening, you have every hope for love. You do get love. You'll have it. And we just got to get back to that place of faith. And it could happen any minute. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen 20 minutes from now.
Yeah.
And so be open. And I'm with you. We all are holding that space that you do get love and that it will find you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that they have all the resources at hand. I mean, give you a website again one more time.
It's KathrynAlice.com, KathrynAlice.com. So check it out. You can get a free class there.
All right, wonderful.
So
well, I'm definitely
lovely.
going to check you out,
Thank
even
you.
though I
What
have
you're
a
doing
beautiful
is-
man.
I just think it's really important. It's
Yeah.
a big
Yeah.
piece that we all want, especially
Yes.
as we go through life. We just want to have that
And we
significant
should
other
have
to
it.
love us.
Yeah.
And for us to love. Thank you for coming
Thank
today with
you.
everything that's
Yeah.
going
Well, it's
on
my
in
pleasure.
your
Thanks
life.
for
We
having
wish
me.
you
Thank
so much
you.
luck
Yeah.
and with the process that you're going through
Yes,
right
the
now.
rebuild.
Thank you very
And
much.
Oh,
yeah,
all
thank
right,
you.
wonderful. Thank you.
And we thank you for
Yes.
joining us.
We
We're
will
here
be back
next
next
week.
week.
Yes. Del and Debbie, Mind, Body, Soul. Bye, everybody. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.